What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journals, Comics, and Pop Culture. Finally doing my video that I've been promising everyone, discussing how I made my custom comic book unit. So, for those that may have never seen it before, let's take a bird's eye view of the unit. If we step back here, you guys can see it in whole. We have the bottom shelves that are basically cubbies for long boxes. I believe there's 18 cubbies. The top shelving units on the bottom there are not cubbies, but they still fit 3 long boxes each. I kept them open in order to keep supplies and other things in there as well. And then, of course, you have the desk piece, which I do all my work on. And then you have a basic bookshelf sized shelf that sits on top of the big unit itself. Alright guys, this piece was extremely fun to make. It was my first real big project that I ever made. I made a clubhouse for my kids, but this one was unique. I made blueprints for it. I don't have the blueprints anymore. I would have loved to show those off in this video, but that's okay. Basically, I'm going to go over what I did, and I'm also going to go over what I learned and things that I should have did different, so you guys can, if you want to go the route of doing something like this, you guys can take some of the positive things in that I was able to do, and then, do some things better, right? So, the big piece that I want to talk about first and foremost is materials, guys. Okay, biggest material obviously is the wood. Now, I didn't use nails in this, and I'm going to talk about this too. But let's focus on the wood itself. Let's zoom in because I'm going to show you guys what I use. Now, the desktop right here is plywood. I believe it's oh man, what is it? What kind of plywood? It was a cherry oak or something like that. It was one of the most expensive plywoods that Home Depot had. And the reason why I went with this is because I wanted the countertop to give that nice kind of like an oak feel, like a standard, like a dresser or a table. And I, stained it and everything, and it looks nice. It does. And I have nothing wrong with this in terms of it being plywood. But my advice to everyone is stay away from plywood. And I'm going to show you why. But first, focusing on this piece. This one's actually worked out because it hasn't warped at all. It's held the weight, and it's fine. But if looking back, anything plywood, I would have gone with solid wood. I should have gone with a solid piece of wood for this, although it hasn't warped at all. Now, as you guys can see, the front here, you guys can still see the ply. I did buy pieces like I put down here, covers. Edge covers that I was going to use all along the edges, but I never did. I got lazy and never did. That obviously would have made it look a little nicer, but it's not really a big deal. It does the bookcase does its job, right? Now let's look at what I used for the main side panels going down here. So again, we saw the desktop. Now this is a different kind of ply. I think it was a little cheaper, but it wasn't the cheapest. I know that much. But I don't know if you guys can see. It is a bit warped, barely, but it goes like this, up and leans a little to the left, and that's because your ply is not solid wood. Now, you guys could probably see the same for these. So these shelving units are ply as well. And I don't even have, I had all these books and more trades on this, and that's what made this buckle. I don't know if you guys can see it again, but you can probably see it doing a little bit of a U-dip. Even up top, there's a little tiny U-dip, okay? Not much on these, because I never put books on these ones, so these ones have stayed extremely well. If you really want to make a bookshelf, do not use ply whatsoever. These ones are decent too because I haven't had anything extremely heavy on them. I only had heavy trades on these ones, and that's why they're a little buckled. I use ply for the top and the sides as well up here. And again, nothing heavy, so it's done its job. But again, I would go back and spend a little more money on different material. Now, for the bulk of what I used ply, the type of material that I would suggest is two things, okay? And I'm going to get into that. We're going to come back to that. Now, I also used press board, which is this right here, okay? Press board is actually extremely durable, but it can chip easy because it's soft. If you say if I was to like dig my nail into this and scrape at it, it would, you know, it would wear, but it's heavy duty still. So as you can see, I have that running parallel left and right, or horizontally, and then I have these running parallel vertically with the edges, and I have two. That's press board, that's press board. Okay, and then for the pockets, I just use some thin particle board, and you know, particle board is pretty flimsy, but again, it serves its job. It's nothing fancy, and they've done well. There's only been one little piece that broke off, which is right there. You can see it right here, and I think that's because I banged it with my chair. I'm gonna super glue that. It was right where the nail went in, and I said I didn't use nails on this, except for these little particle board pieces. I did use small little framing nails to go on those, so that got hit right by kind of where it was already loosened up from the nail. But every other piece has stayed perfectly well. There's been no damage at all. So again, let's step back, guys, one more time and look at this from a bird's eye view the best that we can. Okay, so again, for the base frame, oh guys, you can even see the bottom actually is press board. This is press board, okay? So the outside frame of the bottom unit, and I built these two as two different units, and then I connected them. So I built the bottom unit first, and I built the top smaller shelving unit separate. The frame is particle board. The left side, the right side, particle board. The top desk area, particle board. The bottom, press board. The two middle supports, press board. The horizontal supports for each shelving section, press boards, and of course, particle board for the little pocket dividers, okay? I was originally going to do these pockets with pull-out shelving units, but the cost was just too much at that point. I was on a very tight budget, ultimately, and I would have loved to do that, but yeah. Now let's look at the top shelf. Outer frame, sides, particle board, top, particle board. Middle, vertical supports, press board. And each shelving unit, particle board. Okay? Now, let's talk about how I put this together. And you can put this together like this no matter what type of wood you use. And remember, I'm going to come back to explaining what wood you guys should probably use if you take this route. But we're gonna talk about how I put this together. I use no nails in this whole thing, like I said, besides the little framing nails for the particle dividers. But you're going to want to get yourself a pocket jig, okay? This is a cheap little pocket jig kit, and it did the job. They have pocket jigs, you know, there's really very durable ones that can start getting a little bit pricey. You know, there's ones that you can jig more than two jig holes in at once if that need be, but I only needed one that could drill two jig holes at once. And for those that don't know what a jig hole is, I will explain that to you. Uno momento. And let me just show you guys here. So what you're going to need obviously is a drill, an electric drill, but this is the jig right here. Okay, Now, another thing that was not in my benefit, right, is I don't have a workstation. If you have a workstation, use it. Because in order to get square, flush, carpentry, you're going to want to use a workstation, have everything level. I wasn't level at all. Hence why you guys can see like this is a bit off right here. Okay? Excuse me. And even like this, like it's almost flush right here, but going back, it's a little off. So yeah, that's because I didn't have everything leveled. I didn't really have a station. I actually put this together partially outside on my driveway that's not even flat. And then in here, and my house isn't even level. My house is on a vertical incline. It's ridiculous. Excuse me. But anyways, this is the jig. So what you want to do is, and I'll show you guys. I did basically, I did obviously I got the bottom set, right? And then once I did the bottom, I did the vertical supports. Okay? So what I did for the vertical supports, and let's look at, maybe I should have pulled one of these boxes out. So these vertical supports right here, you could see, I'm going to get in here that they're on this side. You can see, and here's me not finished following through. These are jig holes. So what you do, I laid my base down, right? And then I took each vertical support and I put it in the jig. Okay, let me get that jig. Okay, so you put it in the jig. And you can obviously mount it in there, make sure it's secured. And you get your drill, and you drill a jig hole into the board. So you put it in there, you get it like that, and you drill a hole. As you can see here, all I needed was 2. I did 2 on each side. I did 2 on the front of the vertical support and 2 on the back of the vertical support, right? You drill the holes. Once you have the hole, you take it out, you set it, and then you put the screw in there and you drill the screw right into the base. So that way you have extreme support, unlike nails, which can split your boards. And it's just, I really hate dealing with nails. Using a jig kit is what I recommend without a doubt. It's especially when you're dealing with something like this that is going to really be holding heavyweight stuff when it comes to comic books and books and whatnot. So I did that there, front and back, and then I did it on the top, front and back. So this actually, look at that. I did more than 2 in the front and 2 in the back. I did multiple. It's been a while since I did this, so you guys can see how many I did. And so once I did all the vertical supports like that, I then attached the top, of course. And you can see this way, you can see the screws in there. You take your drill, put the screw all the way up, but you want to make sure, especially if you're going up, make sure the screw is the proper size so it doesn't poke through the top of the other board, right? So that's how I did that. You guys could see them over here. Zzz, drilled up, drilled up. Same on the bottom over here. You can see them right down there. Drill down, drill down. Now, for the horizontal shelving pieces, okay, which is the press board, I drilled the holes in the horizontal boards and slid them in to the vertical pieces and drilled the screws into the side here. Now, the reason why even though it looks cool, but these end pieces, I put them here because I actually used slightly, they were like 1/8 inch too long, the screws that went in here, and they were sticking out just a little bit. So I put those here. But I mean, hey, it looks cool. But I bought that originally for the front to cover these, and I never did that. So now, going up to the bookshelf, same idea. Now again, I did this separately. So I did, I did it upside down. So I put the top shelving unit piece as the base. Then I put the legs on, and then I put the horizontal shelves on. And again, you could see that for the horizontal ones, I put the screws up into the top piece. For the the vertical pieces for the horizontal, I put the screws in the horizontal ones going into the vertical support pieces. And that's how I put this together. Again, I used no nails other than the framing nails for the little particle board dividers. And I think that's the best. If you take anything out of this unit, using the jig kit was the best. Now, there are these, and that's what I was saying. I just kind of left it be, right? There are these pieces right here that you can use to actually fill, let's get the camera on it, fill these holes so you don't see the screw in the hole. But, you know, once I got it up, I was kind of lazy and just said, you know what, screw it. Actually, I wasn't even really lazy because I was trying to get this done so we can get the room done, and I just never got back to it. This is actually the first time I pulled this jig kit out in 5 years almost since doing this shelving unit. So that's that, guys. All right, let's talk about what I could have done differently. And again, that's, for one, you got to have a level workspace, and there's nothing really I could do about that. I mean, it's not even that bad. I mean, the leveling of this is off by maybe a half an inch on the big unit, you know. The other thing I did that I did not pay attention to, and I'm embarrassed by this, was I did buy a standard, you know, backing piece that, you know, you'll, like, you say you get an IKEA dresser, and they have the thin, you know, pieces that are the back support. I put it on backwards because the opposite side has the soft wood grain texture to it, and I put it on backwards. I was probably tired and working out in 105-degree weather, and wasn't even thinking. Once I had it on, I'm like, I looked at it and I'm like, oh shoot, and I was like, I'm just not dealing with it. So it doesn't look horrible. Most of it's covered up anyways. Oh well, right? Now, again, the biggest thing is do not use particle board. Just don't do it. I highly recommend you not do it. Now, I had extra press board that I could have used. So if I would have used the press board for even the, you know, I used it for the main support, the middle support, but I didn't use it for the outside edges, and I should have. And the press board would have been perfect as well for these shelving units. They would not have buckled. The press board would not buckle whatsoever. But even though press board is a step up from the particle board, there is another type of board that I recommend. All right, guys, now we're out in my clutter of a garage here, and I'm going to show you what I recommend, and it is these. Now, I don't know the name off the top of my head, but you can find these pieces at like a Ace Hardware or even your Home Depot, but I bought these at Ace because I just used them as basic shelves in my kids' room, but we took them down to make room for other stuff. But this is basically a I'll show you guys the inside. This is, I took them down and the screw got bent in it, and you can see here that this is, and again, I don't know the technical term, but it's a lot more of a solid board. Obviously, the white is probably some type of laminate that is put on. for standard shelving units, dressers, you know, just like these came from a standard dresser, you know. This is most likely, yeah, it is. This is a laminate that's on top of whatever the wood actually is in there. It's not, I do not believe this is like solid oak. It actually might be oak and still have a laminate on it though. But these are going to be your best option. And here's the ironic thing. When I went to Home Depot to get all my supplies, one of the guys there recommended this material, but I didn't do it because I wanted that natural wood look. That's the only reason. And I didn't want the white because I didn't want it getting dirty or dusty. But, you know, I just, right now, looking back, and I could have painted it. I thought about painting it. But I just, again, I was pressed for time. Painting it would have cost even more money. But this is the stuff. If you're going to do shelving units, you can't go wrong with the material that is actually made for shelving units, right? So again, I don't know the actual proper name of it, but you can look at on any Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace, and talk to them about, you know, shelving unit, white shelving unit pieces, and they'll point you in the right direction. So this is how I made my unit, guys, and I hope that you guys were able to take some things away. Again, I did a lot of positive things to make this happen, and there was some things that I could have done differently. And when it comes to the you know, using those white shelving unit pieces, I could have really did all of it white shelving unit and painted it and had it worked. You know, man, there's just so many. I mean, I could have painted it. And being an artist myself, I could have even like customized it. I mean, I could have did it with this too, but you know, like I said, the one thing that steered me away from going that route with that material was just because it was white. And I absolutely regret it. But that about sums it up, guys. So again, I hope you guys learned something. If you have any questions, if you guys think that you want to take a do-it-yourself project like this in your own hands and you have questions for me, let me know. Again, I would definitely look into investing in a jig kit. I mean, it's, like I said, much better than using nails. So there it is, guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed me breaking down how I built my master comic book unit. Thank you for watching. Leave some comments below. Subscribe if you have not done so yet. And until next time.